Live on City Line. Hi, I'm Jackie Hall.
And I'm B.T. Bentley. It is well known that teenage pregnancy is a problem in the United States, especially in Baltimore, which leads the country in the number of babies born to teen mothers.
When the problem is discussed, however, it seems only the teenage mother and her child are the topic. But what about the father? What role does he play? What are his responsibilities?
Today on City Line, we'll discuss the teen father.
Dealing with the problem of displaced workers. I'm T. Montier, and today on Newscap, we'll talk about that.
Hi, I'm Harold Anthony, and today we'll be featuring an international star whose career has spanned theater, films, nightclubs, television, and recordings, all with equal distinction. From our Whatever Happened To file, I'll feature Hezakya.
Join Jackie and me as we discuss teenage fathers today with Richard Rowe of the Baltimore Urban League.
We'll also talk to two teenagers, one a father and another an expecting father. Teenage fathers, all of this and more, next, live on City Line.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being with us today on City Line. Another lovely day.
I think so.
Got a rather interesting topic today. You know, the issue of teenage pregnancy has been much discussed, particularly because, as we mentioned, Baltimore is leading the nation in the incidence of teenage pregnancy. But one side that is rarely discussed and is probably as much a part of the situation is that of teen fathers. And we have with us today Mr. Richard Rowe from the Baltimore Urban League. Thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here.
And two gentlemen who agreed to share their insights on this issue with us, Mr. Winfield Parker and Mr. Kenneth Kelly. Thanks for being with us. Just how big is the problem? What are we talking about in terms of the scope of the teenage pregnancy problem, particularly here in Baltimore?
It's a very, very serious problem, Mr. Bentley. We're talking about thousands of young girls who are pregnant before they're 20, before their 20th birthday. We're talking about a large number of young girls who are pregnant before they're 15. In fact, there are many young girls in Baltimore City who get pregnant before they're 13 years old. It is a very, very serious problem that demands a community effort. I am tired of the community thinking that only one organization can solve this problem. It requires a community effort, requires the churches, the schools, the Urban League, the NAACP, and all the other groups out there trying to deal with this problem.
What is the cause? I mean, are we simply talking about relaxed social mores, or is there a real problem out here that we're not seeing?
We're talking about relaxed social mores. We're talking about the media which pretty much defines for our young kids morals, defines for our young kids ethics, defines for our young kids directions and goals. Anytime you can watch television shows where family members are competing against each other for one another, you know, and some of the programs reveal those kinds of scenarios. The media has influenced our children, and it continues to influence our children to do things that I believe they should not be doing. Also, we're looking at the breakdown in the family. You know, we have a situation in Baltimore City where 56% of the households in the black community are headed by single females. You know, we're talking about a situation where 70% of the state prison population are black men. You know, we're talking about a situation where a large percentage of black male children are dropping out of school.
Okay, now you've said that there are thousands of babies born to women before the age of 20. Give us some sense of those statistics and do a black-white breakdown as well.
Well, in trying to give you a breakdown, I would say that in 1980, there were 77% of the babies born out of wedlock were born to black women. Out of that 77%, approximately 40% of those children were born to teenage mothers. And we're talking about 8,000 births. You know, we're talking about 8,000 births. I have been looking at some of the statistics, recent statistics, and it reveals that it's interesting that more young white girls in 1983, 1984 are having more children now, keeping their babies, than black women. So that there is a decline or decrease in the number of young teenage black females having babies and an increase in the number of white teenage girls having babies.
Let's bring these gentlemen into the discussion. Let me ask you first, Winfield. Did you think about becoming a father? Was it something you considered, or was it a mistake?
I can't say it was a mistake. It wasn't nothing I was planning, but by its being there, it's a responsibility that I had to live with.
Were you using contraceptives?
No, sir.
Had you considered using contraceptives?
Well, yeah, I considered using them, but I just haven't used it at the time.
Why didn't you use it?
Well, I really can't say. I just didn't use it at that time, but that happened.
Knowing what you know now, would you use it in the future?
Yes.
What about you, Kenneth? Did you plan the pregnancy?
No, I didn't plan it, but it, like he said, it just happened, and it's a responsibility I have to deal with.
Now, both of you look very young, and you are representing at least a group of teen fathers who've assumed the responsibility. What does that mean to you in terms of the responsibility of becoming a father?
Well, it means that for me to show people that taking care of a kid is one of the top things to do if you have the responsibility to do it.
I would imagine that both of you would encourage your friends, if you had friends in a similar situation, to take the responsibility. But what is your feeling? Do most men your age who father children take the responsibility?
Some of them.
Yeah,
some do.
Then some don't care.
Yeah, half of them in jail.
Okay, we're going to continue our discussion in just a minute. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. We're talking about teen fathers, and we'd like for you to call us if you have comments or questions. Call us at 481-1313, especially if you're a teen father or if you're a teen mother. Please give us a call. We're going to continue our discussion now. Just before the break, we were talking about the whole issue of responsibility with Winfield and Kenneth. Your responsibility, Winfield, how have you assumed that? How has it changed your whole thinking now? Because, you know, what, you're 19?
18.
18. How has it changed you?
Well, for right now, it's like I said, it's a responsibility I got to take care when a baby does arrive. It's a lot of things that I used to do I have to stop doing.
Such things as what?
Discoing, going out, running the streets, period. You know, I had to put more time into the baby than anything.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you a question. You're 18.
That's mine.
Do you really want to give that up?
I have no choice. If I doesn't give it up, run the street all the time, and then I go look at my baby and everything, you know, it's probably look a mess or something. So I will have to give it up and take care of the baby.
Kenneth, you've got 2 weeks of experience, roughly. How has it changed you?
Well, since I was looking forward to it, I feel good about it. I mean, taking care of a kid is a big responsibility, but I'm handling it.
How are you adjusting what you had hoped to do with your life? Are you still going to be able to do the things that you wanted to do before this happened?
Yes.
What about school? What about work?
Well, I finished school this Friday, graduated from school, and as a work, I'm supposed to start working this week coming up.
Very good.
And I plan to work and take care of the kid right now.
I think another question that we should really concern ourselves with is why. Why is it that so many of our young people are having children? And why is it that so many of our teenage males are fathering children? I think that is a very critical question. Is it due to a lack of love in the household? Is it due to a lack of direction, a lack of goals clarification? How can young children parent children? I mean, how can babies I mean, these young people out here, how can they raise children when we, you know, some of the best and brightest out here in the black community can't do it?
Well,
we're under a lot of stress ourselves. How can these young people, you know, carry out this very important role?
Now, you have studied, the Urban League has done some studies on the whole issue. You help us get the answers of why, not that we're relying on you to provide the sole answer. Why? Why do you think? What has the Urban League revealed?
We're finding out that a lot of our young people are misdirected. A lot of our young people lack the kind of love and attention that they require in order for them to feel good about themselves. Low self-esteem, low levels of confidence, a difficult time trying to adjust to this society. I mean, these are some of the reasons why some of our young people are simply resorting to having children and not resorting to trying to develop themselves in a very, very holistic manner. I mean, and that is a very serious concern in our community. These young kids out here today, if we are not going to give them the kind of attention that they need, then what can we expect ourselves?
Okay. We have a call holding from home. We'd like to go to that and see the kind of question and information they have. Good afternoon. You're live on City Line.
Yes, my question is, why don't the parents and the teachers both get together and talk to the students and stop giving them the birds and the bees and the runaround and come straight out and tell the truth about the situation and how things are supposed to be?
A proponent for
Instead of
early
just
sexual
playing
education.
around, making a game of the whole situation.
The truth of the matter is that this is, as serious as this problem is, only 11% of the large school districts have sex education programs in the school system.
And both of these gentlemen, well, at least Winfield, said that you weren't using any contraception. Did you know about contraception? Did you know enough about it to make a choice, do you think?
Yeah, I knew about them.
So it was a conscious lack on your part that you decided not to use it.
Yeah.
You chose not to use it.
Well, I can't say I didn't chose. It's just that, you know, I didn't do the, you know, something that just didn't been done.
Okay, let's bring our audience into this. Yes, sir. You have a question?
Yes, I have a question now for teenage fathers. I was wondering if they had, like a lot of people who find themselves in this situation, thought that this is something that could never happen to you. Is this something that you never foresaw?
Talking about during the age that I am now?
Yes, I have.
Well, I didn't think it could happen to me, but it happened and I have to deal with it. And as far as being around my baby and taking care of her, I'm willing to do it. And
Thank you.
Okay.
Why do you think it is that most, you mentioned earlier, just before we went to the break, you said that a lot of the fathers were in prison, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are not. What sorts of things, both of you are owning up to it, what sorts of things keeps other fathers from owning up to their responsibilities, in your view?
Well, there's a lot. I figure, you know, drugs might have another thing to do, you know, with some people taking care of their babies. Some guys dealing drugs and have a job too, have something to back them up. And they take care good well of their babies, the guys doing drugs, because they make a lot of money if they never get caught by the law. And they take care of their babies that way.
Mm-hmm.
And
By supporting them financially, you mean?
Yeah, financially, yeah. And some people out here just don't at all, and a lot of fathers out here are abusing their babies too, mothers and fathers.
Okay. Let me ask another question. You know, Richard asked, one of the things that we should be discussing is why it's happening. You're teenagers, you're out there, you're now a father, you're an expecting father. Why do you think it is happening? Why do you think it's happening? Why are so many teenagers having babies?
There's a lot of young girls out here that's about I say start from 14, 15 and up. Well, I figure those age, the parents these days should put their child on some kind of protection, even though if they think their child not doing anything, they should put them on something. Because majority of the fellas out here, you know, they consider a girl, when they say a girl fat, that means she healthy. You know, it's a nice shape, nice body and everything. And one word leads to another. They'll pull a girl up. Next thing you know, that 15-year-old girl, 14-year-old girl pregnant.
Why would a 14-year-old get involved in sex that early? I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at. Why is there such sexual activity out there?
There's a lot of things going on out there.
Kenneth, do you have any feelings on it?
Off of the streets, they hear, I guess they hear things from their friends or things that people talk about on the corners.
You have a lot of time, I mean, on their hands. I mean, what else are they doing? What else are we providing for them in terms of programs? I should also make this point very clear, too, because a recent Urban Institute study revealed that half of the fathers who, in fact, impregnate these young teenage girls are over 20 years old. And so we're just not looking at teenage fathers fathering or becoming the fathers of teenage, impregnating teenage mothers, but we're looking at also another element where a lot of older men are impregnating our young girls out here. And that speaks to a very, very serious problem in our community.
Why is that?
I think, you know, in trying to really come to grips with why that is, I think young girls may be attracted to older men. I think that older men find young girls less threatening. I mean, we need to be looking at these kinds of complex issues before we start dealing with this question out here. These young men, when you put the question to them, why? I mean, what does teenager mean? Teenager means child. And so what we have out here are a lot of young children, you know, raising children. And there are people in our community, experts, who equate teenage pregnancy with genocide. You know, the fact that we are simply having children in our community.
Okay, now another thing that I want to ask when we come back has to do with fathering a child. Is that being also equated with manhood? And I think that's an issue that we'd like to discuss when we come back. Please stay with us and call us at 481-1313. We'll take a break and come right back. Now here's this.
We're back, continuing our discussion on teenage fathers. We're gotten off onto the subject of expressing one's manhood. How does someone your age define manhood? Is it possible that by having a child, proving that you can do it, you've established yourself among your peers?
No, I don't figure that it makes you over your peers or that you reach the point in your life to saying you're a man, because these days teenagers 16, probably 15 and up can probably produce a child. I don't figure that's making you a man, but it's you going into manhood, I figure.
But isn't that the feeling out there?
Yeah,
that a lot of them are saying, well, I'm a man because I've got 4 children out there?
Yeah,
some of the young guys some people can consider that by saying that, because I figure a man, this would make a man responsibilities. You got responsibilities, you know, when you out there in your own world, living your own world. There's some people out here that young, you know, 16, 17, living their own world. And they probably feel good about what they're doing, and, you know, figure they reached the manhood.
And Jackie, that is a very serious problem. Our young men are socialized to think that being cool means abandoning your children and also having as many babies as you can have. And they also define manhood by the fact that they can have these children, especially when they can't acquire manhood in other more traditional ways, you know, jobs and educational levels and things of this sort. And so manhood is reduced to a very narrow definition of simply having children or ripping off someone in the community or being cool and all these kinds of things. These are double standards in our community, you know, that really affects us.
Okay, let's bring our audience back into this. Yes, ma'am, you have a question or a comment?
Yes. I keep hearing the young men refer to assuming their responsibilities, and I was wondering what they perceive these responsibilities to be. You keep saying you're going to assume the responsibilities for this child, and I just want to know, what do you see as your responsibilities as one of the parents of this child?
Well, I feel my responsibility is to clothe the child, make sure the child have a nice home in the future, and to make sure my child eats, and just to make sure, let my child know that I'm there to comfort her when she needs it.
Mine is that when my baby does arise, to make sure that he or she has a nice home, nice family, hopefully seriously raised in a nice area, that he or she can grow up and won't develop all these weird things that we did as we was growing up in the drug areas and stuff like that. And the responsibility of just taking care of the baby itself, giving it all the loving and care that it needs.
Can I ask, are you satisfied with those answers?
The thing that frightens me, you talk about assuming responsibilities, and I suspect that at 18, you're not even sure what parenting is. And I just wanted to see if the young men had thought through what parenting really means. I hear references to the financial aspect, and I'm delighted by that, and yet I'm not even sure both of them will have a job upon completion of high school. But my big concern was, I think many young men, and I think it's admirable that they've taken this stance, but at the same time, I'm not sure they really understand all that goes into parenting. The financial responsibility is a part of it, and I think most young people perceive that part. But I was really concerned about the other part.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Is there help for the teenage father in terms of learning what parenting is, in terms of support when they run into a situation where they don't know what to do?
There is not a lot of help in the community, BT, unfortunately. Unfortunately, most of the programs that provide services to teenagers are designed to help the female, designed to help her before the pregnancy or after the pregnancy. And we have a situation right now where we simply don't have a lot of programs out there designed to teach male responsibility, parenthood, etc.
Okay. We have another call from home. We'd like to go to that now. Hi, you're on City Line.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Good afternoon.
Okay, you will have to talk.
My question is going to be to Mr. Rowe. Mr. Parker briefly touched on the idea of the teenage father who is a drug dealer and or addict. My question is, has anyone gotten together the statistics on such a serious problem? And what avenues are open to the parents of the children who have to deal with these drug dealers or addicts?
Okay, I don't know whether we have looked at that problem in Baltimore City. I know that they have looked at it in Washington, D.C., and they have found that an overwhelming number of fathers of teenage parents are in fact drug addicts. A large percentage of the fathers are also incarcerated. I don't know whether or not we have done or conducted that kind of research here in Baltimore City. What can be done for these parents, I don't know what can be done for them because we haven't really looked at that as being a serious problem in this area.
Caller, is there a special interest there for you personally?
Yes, there is. I am the mother of a teenage mother who also at the time of the birth of the baby the father was a teenager. And the father is both an addict and a dealer. But the father is unable to deal realistically with the responsibilities that go along with being a father. And his mother is also unable to deal with it.
How has this impacted on your daughter and the child?
We have been in and out of courts for abuse and assault for the last 12, 13 months in a row, and still have to go back at least 3 more times in the next 30 days.
Again, the caller raises a very interesting point, Jackie, in that there's not enough research or not enough attention given to problems like this. And these kinds of issues must be included in teenage pregnancy programs, but they're often ignored, often left out of the overall teenage perspective.
So what's going to happen to these fathers without the wherewithal to handle the situation? I mean, is drugs that pervasive a problem that it's having a definitive effect on the numbers?
Oh yeah, I mean I am quite sure that drugs, I mean if you look at most large urban centers where there's a predominant black population, drugs become one of the most serious problems in the community. And that's why most of the police forces are attacking drugs or trying to. State's Attorney Kurt Smoke has identified drugs as one of the most serious problems in the community.
Richard, just before we leave this caller, what do you say to a mother of a teenage mother who has this kind of problem? Where can she go? What can she do?
I think that there are some programs. I know that the Northwest Youth Services on Belvedere has a program They're in the process of getting this program together. In fact, they have services there. She might want to contact them. She might want to contact the city health department. There may be some help for her there too. She's going to have to look around and to try to find, unfortunately, you know, but this is where we are right now.
Okay, thank you for calling and good luck to you and your daughter.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got to take a break, but when we come back, we'll find out a little bit more about where you might be able to get help. Please stay with us.
We're continuing our discussion on teen fathers, and we have someone at the microphone right now, Diana Smith of Start Right. Tell us about your program and how does it fit into this whole issue of teen pregnancy?
First of all, let me say that Baltimore City has lots of programs for teenagers. We have before the fact programs, we have after the fact programs. Baltimore City is very progressive in that it does a lot of things for teenagers. It's just trying to get them all coordinated is a problem. My program is called Start Right, and we are an infant and maternal care program. And this came out of the concerns that the city and the state health officials and the community had about the high rates of infant mortality. Infant mortality, that's the term used to describe those babies that die within the first year of life because of something the mother did or didn't do. So mothers who smoke or drink or use drugs or who don't watch their diets, their babies have a bad chance of getting started. So our program is aimed at having the mother get off to a good start with Start Right.
How can the father play a role in that, in the prenatal care of the baby?
We encourage the father to be involved. He is the second parent. We don't exclude him at all. And these guys are great because they want to be responsible, they want to be involved with their babies, and we encourage that. Let me just tell you, Start Right is at 889-BABY. And for more information about the program, please call us because we want people to know how important it is to get early prenatal care.
So you deal with nutritional information?
Nutritional information, no smoking, no drinking, no substance abuse, because it does have an effect on the unborn baby.
Okay, so the number again is 889-BABY, and we have those other numbers on the screen, which we will give before we leave the air.
Good.
Any other final bits of information you want to share with us?
I think these guys are great. I'd like to see them keep on doing what they're doing, and if more guys would do it, I think we wouldn't have so many problems.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Richard, any other?
The other thing that I would like to share with the audience is the fact that we have to be very careful not to romanticize teenage parenthood. We must not romanticize it, glorify it, or elevate it to new heights. I think we need to be more concerned with preventing another generation of our kids from going through this cycle again, because it's evident that once they father or once they become parents, many of the opportunities open to them, the doors start closing. And many of the mothers drop out of school, the fathers end up in the streets, et cetera, et cetera. Now,
so tell us about the Urban League program. You've got some posters out, a radio spot. What is your program directed at?
Well, the National Urban League has developed a media campaign to target it just for the black male, you know, and simply it's saying if you can't be a father, don't make a baby. You know, it's hitting them very hard. There are PSAs. There is a piece by James Ingram who is singing a song about parenthood, etc. And it's trying to simply bombard the community with these kinds of messages, hoping to touch the minds of our young men, because many of them, again, defining their manhood through fatherhood is unfortunate. And if we can get them to start thinking differently, we may be able to put an end to this problem.
How effective do you really think it's going to be?
By itself, not effective. But if the media campaign is combined with other efforts by the churches, the schools, the community as a whole, then maybe, Jackie, I mean, I would hate to think that we are simply going to think or let these posters become the panacea for this problem. That's not going to happen.
This is an epidemic, really.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's a national crisis.
What do you think the impact is going to be on the quality of the generations to come?
I am very pessimistic. I really am. I mean, just recently, the Children's Defense Fund published their report, and they are pretty much concluding that we are almost guaranteeing that the next generation of young kids will remain in poverty. I mean, that is the conclusions of their report. And teenage pregnancy is one of the reasons for that. And so I'm very pessimistic about it, although I am also optimistic by the kinds of programs that are starting to crop up in the community as a whole.
And of course, with gentlemen like this, there's reason for optimism. There are those who are willing to take the responsibility.
Yeah.
Winfield, I think you had a point that you wanted to make.
A lot of parents and people blame it when a girl get pregnant mainly on the guys, but it's not just the guy, it's the girl itself. It's you know, they laid down there and the guy laid down there, so that's something both of them went through together. So they should deal with that, and the parents should deal with that all at one is still saying, well, you got my daughter pregnant. You know, you should deal with that as in one whole situation.
So, and what you're saying is that two parties were involved at least.
Yeah, hopefully.
Thank you for that. I think we needed to hear that. I think we needed to hear that. We thank you, all of you, for being with us. Richard Rowe of the Urban League, and Winfield Parker, and Kenneth Kelly. Right, Kenneth Kelly.
One thing, anybody can be a father, but it takes someone special to be a dad.
Okay, we really appreciate that. We will continue these kinds of discussions in future shows. Please stay with us. We'll be back with 2 months here.
Good afternoon. Topping today's newscap. 2 of the nation's leading black mayors clashed publicly on Capitol Hill yesterday over whether the administration's sub-minimum wage program would reduce the tragic 42% black youth unemployment level. D.C. Mayor Marion Barry, president of the 300-member National Conference of Black Mayors, supported the idea, contending that a majority of his city's youth feel a job paying $2.50 an hour beats no job at all. On the other hand, Mayor Harold Washington of Chicago described the experiment as an insult to black teenagers that would result in their own exploitation. Feeling as though there are few opportunities for advancement, minority journalists are giving up jobs on newspapers across the country at a rate 3 times that of their white counterparts. That's according to a study by the Institute for Journalism Education. Of those minorities still working at newspapers, the Institute found 40% of them said they planned a career switch. Today, only about 3,000 of the nation's 50,000 newsroom positions are held by minority journalists. But making a career switch may be easy for some and more difficult for others, especially when that job switch is forced and not by choice, such as the dilemma faced by the displaced worker who, through no fault of his own, suddenly finds himself out of a job after years of gainful employment. Joining me now to talk about the plight of the displaced worker is Edith Hall, Director of Media Relations for the Metropolitan Baltimore Council, AFL-CIO unions. Ms. Hall, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Tia. Good morning.
Good morning. What is the displaced worker?
The displaced worker are workers who have been in the steel mills, garment industries, industrial plants, machinist shops, who are displaced, as you said earlier, through no fault of their own. Their jobs have been laid off. They have been laid off from their jobs. Their industries are basically extinct, and there is very little to no expectation that they'll be called back to these jobs.
Would we say then that the displaced worker is a victim of modern technology in the rapidly changing workplace?
Yes, they are victims of modern technology. They're also victims of increased foreign competition for imports. They're victims of jobs being relocated, businesses and industries being relocated to more profitable bases.
Ms. Hall, then what recourse does the worker have who has worked in a situation for 20, 30, 40 years, suddenly is let go, fired, because of changes in the workplace? What recourses does this individual who is willing to work, who is used to good pay, who is used to working, what recourse does he have?
The recourses are few, the adjustments are many. The individual has to accept the reality that the workplace is changing, and they have to make changes to go along with that change, and they have accepted that. Dislocated workers are willing to be retrained. Many have gone through retraining programs, and they are out in the workforce and available and looking for gainful employment.
How widespread would you anticipate the problem of the displaced worker is?
In the Washington metropolitan area, in the Baltimore area, there's a conservative estimate of approximately 9,000. However, that range goes from, for the state of Maryland, 153,000 long-term displaced workers since 1983.
June 10th, the week of June 10th through the 14th, has been designated by Mayor Schaefer and the President of the City Council as Worker Dislocation Week. Exactly what does that mean?
Worker Dislocation Week is a week in which we as a community will be looking at the problems of dislocation and how it impacts on city residents.
You are a project director for, I understand, an ambitious program called Baltimore Works. Tell us about that project.
Baltimore Works is a job assistance program. Baltimore Works is a job assistance program, and basically Baltimore Works will encourage people to let us know that they are working, they are looking for work, and we will assist them in developing reemployment plans. We basically want to raise the consciousness of the community to the plight of the dislocated worker. They are very difficult to see in the community because they're not necessarily visible. What they do is they tend to think their situations are isolated situations and stay to themselves. So we want to support dislocated workers and let them know that there is concern in the community, that there are efforts to assist them in their dislocation or re-entry into the workforce, and that we want to show businesses committed to finding places for dislocated workers in their workforce and people who just basically care about the state of employment.
Finally, Ms. Hall, while you show us the bumper sticker that we should be seeing around the city this coming week dealing with the subject of Baltimore Works, if people need to find out more information about the Baltimore Works program, and if they are themselves dislocated workers and need someone to talk to, is there a number that they can call to get some more information?
This is the bumper sticker, and this is the bumper sticker. and we would like to make sure that this bumper sticker is displayed around the city. People can call Metropolitan Baltimore Council of AFL-CIO unions on 247-4898 to obtain a bumper sticker, to register for our reemployment program, or simply to just express their concerns and hopefully to make jobs available.
Okay, Edith Hall, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Tia.
Briefly, in other news, if you are receiving benefits from Social Security, civil service retirement, military retirement, veterans pensions or disability, and a number of other federal benefits programs, you could be among the more than 1/2 million people the Congressional Budget Office says will be pushed into poverty by the Reagan administration's proposed elimination of the 1986 federal cost of living adjustments. If Congress decides to cancel the 1986 cost of living adjustments for all cash benefit programs, elderly poor families would be most crippled, losing an average of $140 a year in benefits. And finally, Sharissa Miller, an ambitious and career-oriented 9th grader at Western High School, is City Line Student of the Week. 14-year-old Sharissa is originally from San Francisco, California, where she attended Presidio Middle School, while at Presidio, and presently at Western, Sharissa continues to maintain a B average. Sharissa's hobbies include racquetball, tennis, and soccer. Anticipating a career in the communications industry, Sharissa is a volunteer for public television and has volunteered her time as news production assistant and news editor assistant at WEAA Radio. Graduating from the Elite Modeling Agency in 1982, Sharissa has been a professional standstill and runway model for the past 2 years. Congratulations and continued success to Sharissa Miller, City Line Student of the Week. And that is today's Newscap. I'm T. Montier. More of City Line up next. Have a good day.
Hi, I'm Harold Anthony. You know, there seems to be a renewed interest in a former superstar who all but disappeared from the scene for 10 long years. Her name is Hezakya, and she is currently in the midst of what will surely become one of the most dramatic comebacks in entertainment history. Born on a cotton farm in South Carolina, she was destined to an early life of struggling to overcome the hardships brought on by poverty, family indifference, and prejudice. The one thing that she had on her side was natural talent and her own distinct individuality. She attended the famed School of Performing Arts in New York City, and by the time she was 20, she was featured as a dancer and a vocalist and had performed all over the world. While performing in Paris, she was spotted by Orson Welles, who called Miss Kit the most exciting woman in the world, and she was immediately signed to star with him in a stage production. This led to many, many more stage productions and several Tony Award nominations. Broadway stardom led the way to a recording contract and a succession of best-selling records, as well as her first autobiography called Thursday's Child. Besides conquering the stage, the literary world, and being one of the hottest recording artists of her time, she also made TV and movie appearances opposite such names as Sidney Poitier and Nat King Cole. But her career came to a screeching halt in January of 1968 when she spoke out against the Vietnam War to First Lady Lady Bird Johnson. As a result, Miss Kit was immediately blacklisted and had to perform overseas until recently. Despite this setback, Miss Kit overcame adversity and is once again on her way to her rightful place in the entertainment industry, which is right on top. With her latest recording called I Love Men, here's the great Hezakya.
Then came the night I was alone. Big empty bed, all on my own, alone. All in my glory, such a sad story. Moment by moment, I go find another, maybe his brother. I'll move to the next without a pause, because I love men. What can I do? I love men. They're no good for you. In the end, they always resist and pretend you didn't exist. But my friend, they somehow persist and remain at the top of my list. I love a man, I love a man, love them over and over and over again. Good times may come and they may go, I know. Money goes fast, but it comes slow, so slow. One thing is certain, love's final curtain won't leave me bereft while there is one man left. I love a man, it's going to last. I love a man, the feeling won't pass. I love a man, wherever I go. All these men, they're haunting me so. Smiles of men, as far as I see. Smiles of men, they're smiling at me. I love a man, I love a man, love them over and over and over again. I love a man, it's always the same. I love a man, I'm part of the game. Can't be found the way that I feel. It's no trend, the feeling is real. Now and then I try to conceal where and when I choose to reveal. I love a man, I love a man, love them over and over and
That was the one and only Eartha Kitt, who was definitely on the comeback trail. If you're one of the fortunate ones who had a chance to see Eartha perform in the past, then you probably remember the sensational Ink Spots who shared the spotlight with Miss Kitt back in the 50s. Well, for you Ink Spots fan, I have some exciting news. The original Ink Spots will be performing live at the King of France Tavern in historic Annapolis through June 11th. So, why don't you come on down and hear some of their old hits, which are sure to bring back some pleasant memories. For reservations and ticket information, you can call area code 301-263-2641. And finally, I want to remind you that the Channel 13 Harbor Lights Festival will soon begin its 5th fabulous season at the Baltimore beautiful Inner Harbor. Entertainer Peter Allen will kick off this exciting 10-week celebration where a wide variety of music will be featured. So come share the magic as the Inner Harbor rocks to the spirited sounds of such stars as Gladys Knight and the Pips, Melba Moore, Smokey Robinson, the Manhattans, B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland, Millie Jackson, the Manhattan Transfer, and many, many more. The concerts will be staged on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday evenings. For further information, you can call 837-INFO. And once again, it's time for me to wrap up another edition of the Entertainment Page. I'm Harold Anthony, hoping you all have a great Sunday.
It seems to have changed a little bit, though.
Yeah, well, Eartha Kitt loves men, and I love Eartha Kitt.
Oh, okay, get out of it.
Yes. Well, we want to give you the phone numbers that we put on the screen once before concerning teen pregnancy information. For Start Right, we have 889-BABY. For Planned Parenthood, we have 752-0131. And for the number to the Urban League, it is 523-8 8150. So we will have those also at our switchboard if you care to call us later for them if you missed them.
That's right, and we also want to invite you to join us next week. We'll be talking about prison sweethearts. You know, how do relationships survive when one of the mates is behind bars? We're going to be tackling that subject next week. And if you want to make seat reservations, you can call us here at 481-1313. Call now so you can reserve your seat for next week's show.
And in the very near future, we're going to do a very unusual topic, and it's about Rastafarians and the Rastafarian community, and as some other folk call the dreadlock community as well, folk who are not Rastafarians, but they wear their hair in the dreadlocks. If you are a Rastafarian, you'd like to be involved in that program, call us too at 481-1313 and tell us and make reservations as well.
All right, it's been a good show. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm B.T. Bentley.
I'm Jackie Hall. Have a good Sunday.
Bye-bye.